Hey friends, imagine a missile flying into a small Syrian village in the middle of the night. You don't hear about it on mainstream news, no headlines scream about it. But it happened. Again. Israel has launched yet another airstrike inside Syrian territory, this time claiming to protect the Druze community, a minority group with deep roots and a complex identity in the Levant. But here's the real question. Is this really about protecting minorities? Or is it a calculated move in a much deeper, long-running game? If this kind of deep dive interests you, where we peel back the headlines and get to the heart of the strategy, consider subscribing. Here on Mr. America, we dive deep into stories that mainstream media glosses over. Let's get into it. This latest strike happened near Sweida, a Druze-majority province in southern Syria. Israeli officials claimed it was meant to prevent Iranian-backed militias from threatening the Druze community. On paper, that sounds noble. But dig deeper. The Druze are an ethno-religious group, often caught between powerful regional forces. In Syria, they've tried to stay neutral, not siding fully with Assad, but not rebelling either. For years, their position has been one of quiet survival. But Israel's targeting of specific Syrian infrastructure near Druze areas raises eyebrows, especially when you realize this isn't the first time. Since the Syrian civil war began in 2011, Israel has carried out over 1,000 airstrikes inside Syria. The official reason is always the same: Iranian influence, Hezbollah weapons, or protecting civilians. But let's ask something uncomfortable. Why are these strikes often near sectarian fault lines? Kurdish regions in the north, Druze communities in the south, or Alawite zones near Latakia? What if, instead of protecting minorities, Israel is weaponizing sectarianism? To understand this, we have to rewind to the 1970s, the time of the Yinon Plan, an Israeli strategic doctrine that proposed a fractured Middle East would benefit Israeli security. The idea? If nations like Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon were broken into smaller, ethnically divided statelets, they'd be too busy fighting each other to threaten Israel. Now, officially, Israel has never endorsed the Yinon Plan as policy, but critics argue, actions speak louder than denials. Fast forward to 2024, Syria is still fractured. Assad controls most of the west, Kurds hold the northeast, Turkish-backed rebels cling to parts of Idlib, and Iranian proxies dot the countryside. Now, suddenly, there's renewed violence in Sweida, the Druze heartland. Local youth are protesting Assad. There are sporadic clashes. And amidst that, Israel starts protecting Druze communities with bombs. But what if that protection is actually provocation? Here's where it gets even more complex. The Druze in Syria have historically leaned toward secularism, even socialism. But when they're attacked, even under the guise of protection, they feel vulnerable. Suspicion grows. And that creates internal fractures in Syria's already weakened unity. It's a classic play. Exploit divisions. Let fear do the rest. And if you've made it this far, maybe consider subscribing. Because the deeper we dig, the more we uncover strategies that never make the headlines. And here on Mr. America, that's exactly what we're about. Now, let's bring Iran into the picture. Yes, Iran has a heavy presence in Syria. Through the IRGC and its network of proxy militias, it has entrenched itself in dozens of sites, especially near Damascus and the Lebanese border. But here's the catch. Many of these groups are miles away from Druze areas. And yet Israel consistently targets sites adjacent to the Druze, not because Iran is there, but because that's where a strategic reaction can be provoked. The goal isn't just military, it's psychological. Destabilize Assad's alliances, make the Druze feel abandoned, force them to reconsider loyalty, maybe even form new militias. Once that happens, the fragmentation accelerates. So let me ask you, friends, do you think Israel is truly stepping in to protect a minority, or is it playing a long game where every bomb dropped near a fault line helps redraw the map, not on paper, but in people's minds? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to hear what you think. Have you ever seen this tactic used in other conflicts, maybe even in your own region? What makes this even more haunting is that while the US and Europe talk endlessly about international law and sovereignty, these airstrikes go largely unchecked. And that silence, that normalizing of intervention, is what makes it dangerous. Because next time, it might not just be to protect the Druze. It might be to shift an election, or control a border, or even install a regime. Hey friends, this conflict is bigger than missiles or airstrikes. It's a geopolitical game with lives on the board. And the people who suffer most, the civilians, are rarely the ones whose stories get told. But we're here to change that. If you got something out of this, share it, drop a comment, and subscribe to Mr. America if you believe these stories deserve to be heard, in full. Because in a world full of headlines, the real stories are often hiding in the margins. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed.